It's the weekend and you have financial questions that need answering. That can only mean one thing. It's time for Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
Welcome, welcome. It's the Jill on Money show, and we are here to take the mystery out of your financial life. Yes, even on the big Christmas weekend. I don't know, I feel kind of weird to do a show around this time, but, we'll try to make it fun and interesting and exciting. And of course, no, we are not doing this while we are in real time. We're pre-recording this, so it's just me and Mark doing our program, trying to help you take the next best step that you can take with your financial life. And we do that by answering questions. So if you have a financial question, all you need to do is go to jillonmoney.com, click the contact button, and we'll get your note. If you'd like to come on the air, then of course you can just say, I want to come on the air. That makes it more fun. It's better. Now, I know you're in big time holiday mode, but there's going to be a turning of the page. You're going to be thinking about your financial life, and maybe you would like another set of eyes on your financial situation. If that's the case, you should check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet Wealth provides financial planning to lots of different kinds of people, maybe you. And this is planning that's not just about your investments. This is real conflict-free financial planning. And the planning advice comes from a certified financial planner, someone who has to be a fiduciary, who works in your best interest. And the planning is goal-based. So it's really about what you want, what your needs are. Facet does not have any wealth or account minimums. They meet you where you are. So why not head over to facetwealth.com, facetwealth.com. That's their website, and you can check them out. Maybe that's for you. Otherwise, you can just hang out with us. So that's what Scotty is about to do. Now, Scotty's on the line from LA, and here we have the quintessential question: buy or rent? Hey, Scotty, what can we do for you?
My girlfriend and I started looking for a house probably about 6 months ago. It's our first house. We've been renting for 7-8 years. Like everybody says, it's crazy out there. So just kind of seeing if you have any advice. We've bid on a few houses. Our budget's in the $650,000 range, maybe up to $700,000. And we just keep getting outbid by, 100, 200 grand. Just kind of see if you had any advice on that.
We hear this from a lot of people, Scotty. I have to say, I'm so sorry. Tell us a little bit about what you guys are doing in the rest of your financial life. So, for example, how much are you both earning?
We both earn about 60 grand a year, give or take. I'm in the service industry. I'm a bartender, and my girlfriend has a photography business. So sometimes more, sometimes a tad less.
And are you guys putting money away for retirement? As a bartender, a photographer, these are, I don't know if you work for any companies that allow you to have a retirement account, or do you do your own stuff? What's up?
We just do our own stuff when we can. We both have Roth IRAs through Vanguard. I have about 30 grand in mine, and she has less. That's something we're definitely lacking in, which is part of the reason we are trying to buy a house, thinking that will set us up for, a better financial future.
In other words, the house would be sort of a bit, well, let's call it sort of forced savings, because it's harder for you guys to do that in addition to kind of all the other stuff that's competing for your dollars right now. Is that right?
100%.
Okay. So how'd you do with the whole bartending thing? I mean, you were a bartender during COVID. Like, what happened?
I kind of had a year off.
Wow.
Yeah, I worked off and on, here and there, but started working again pretty hard in January, back to whatever normal is,
Do you guys have the down payment set aside?
We have about 80 grand set aside.
Wow. Holy smokes, that's great.
Yeah.
How old are you?
35.
And what about girlfriend?
She's 36.
Any debt that's outstanding, student loans, credit cards, auto loans, anything like that?
No, we have no debt. I mean, we have an auto loan. We have, I think there's about 16 grand on an auto loan that we have through Chase. And that's it.
So why buy a house? Like, you're like free and easy, man.
That's part of the question, part of the reason why I'm calling.
You also have variable income. And I understand that, like, probably for you, you could work a ton, but there's only so many hours in a day, in terms of you and your girlfriend, and the upper range of what you could make is, what would you guess? Like, if you make 120 grand a year now, what do you think is like the upper range of what you could actually make in, like, if you're killing it?
Maybe if I'm killing it, 100 grand a year. And
Okay.
he's killing it, probably also 100 grand a year.
So the most you would sort of top it, like 120 a year you can depend on. 200 would be killing it, but you're probably killing yourselves and you wouldn't even be able to enjoy your new house.
Possibly.
So you can't go crazy on just saying, oh, I want to reach. I think reaching would be a very bad thing. I really do. I think that would really put a ton of pressure on you at a time where you don't want that pressure. I mean, look, I hope this never happens, but I think it's unlikely that we get the same kind of lockdown. But what if there is some weird surge? Like, you buy your house, you're like, okay, we reach, instead of 650, we're going to do 800, just, for the heck of it, right? We only put 10% down. And now you still have that nut that you've got to carry. I know that you want to do this, and I get that you want to do this. I would much prefer that you take a deep breath. You say, sign another lease, a year, 2 years, and see where things shake out. Because I think reaching in this current environment is just not a great idea for you guys. Scotty, can you live with renting for another year or two?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Okay. I mean, I don't want to do anything that's, financially irresponsible, for sure.
We just interviewed Diane Swank. She's fancy-ass economist. And I said, so what's your advice to someone who's looking for a house? Basically, someone like you. She's like, I wouldn't buy a house right now. She basically said that. I wouldn't do it. I'm wondering if you can just sort of chill out and you can put more money into that down payment fund. I wouldn't invest that down payment fund. I might do one thing just for the heck of it, which is I might pay off your auto loan right now. Your down payment fund, if you're looking to buy a house in the next year, you still want to add to it. And so you can't afford to put that money in anything but, let's call it, a high yield money market savings, short-term CD. What I would do is I'd take the money from the down payment fund, I'd pay off the auto loan, and then I'd keep replenishing that down payment fund and see where you land in a year from now, or see if you can, score something great in terms of a good rental that you're happy in. I don't think you should live like paupers. I think you should be happy in there. I don't think it's worth it for you right now to take this risk on. I just don't.
Okay.
We don't want stress and pressure. We really don't. It's not worth it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, totally.
Go forth. Be very, very careful. Let us know how you do with the renting, and stay in touch. Let us know if something comes up that you need our help with, okay?
All right, right on. I will, for sure.
Okay, we'll get back to the holiday extravaganza here at Jill on Money during the break. Go on over to the website. Maybe you missed some shows during this big holiday season. JillOnMoney.com. Click on the Listen tab. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here to try to help you through this holiday season, distract you a little bit, perhaps. If you've got a financial question, maybe some buoyant conversation over a family meal starts to talk about money or the economy or the jobs market, whatever, anything on your mind, we would love to help you out. Go to JillOnMoney.com and click on the contact button. Don't forget to let us know if you would like to join us on the air live. You too could be broadcasting from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One. This is Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet? See how I did that? Pretty cool, huh, Mark? Anyway, right now we are going to someone who needs some advice. It is Kathleen, who is in California. She's wondering whether her husband can leave the job market. You have that kind of question? Let us know. Okay, Kathleen, how can we help you out?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on. I love you, Jill. I listen to you all the time.
Thanks.
So my question is, my cousin, Mark, I love
Mark,
you too.
see, Mark just pops into Kathleen's headset and says, "What about me?" Because he feels so left out. If you want to be in the program, then you have to be on the air. You see, I can't even fight with him because he has the power of the editing. So I'm always at the short end of that. Okay, Kathleen, let's get back to you.
Okay, so my husband, he currently has a great job, wonderful benefits, including a pension. However, in about 5 years, when my youngest flies the coop, we'd really like to be able to move out of state and buy a house with the equity we have in our current home, which would mean he'd have to leave his current employer.
Mm-hmm.
So he is vested in his pension, but the longer he stays, the bigger the pension is. So we're just kind of trying to see, are we really sabotaging any hopes to what he'd like now to be able to step back and retire at like 60? Are we sabotaging it by leaving his job prematurely before his retirement age? Or with the savings of being mortgage free and living somewhere less expensive, are we going to be able to, save more and kind of not necessarily make up for the difference, but keep those plans to step back around 60?
Okay, well, let's think about this then. First of all, how old are you?
I am 45.
And how old is he?
He is 46.
Okay. Your kids are how old?
13 and 16.
How much do you and your husband earn?
He earns about $220 a year before bonuses, and I am self-employed and I earn about 35.
How much have the bonuses been running for him?
It's been an unusual time, but I'd say usually around $40,000 before taxes.
Okay. His pension currently,
Yes.
if he were to, let's just wind the clock ahead. So you say you move out of California, he's 50 years old or 51 years old. What would the pension benefit be at that point?
So if he collected it starting at 60 and we left, basically earlier, he would be about $4,000 a month.
Okay.
Whereas if we collected at 65, it'd be about $4,600 a month.
And what would it be if he stuck around there?
Yeah.
In other words, you're saying you guys leave. So what's the differential that I'm looking at here?
Yeah. So if he stayed until 60 and retired at 60, we'd get $7,200 a month. And if he left at 65, we'd get $9,500 a month.
Yeah, that's not happening though. Not for a guy who wants to. There's no way he's staying there till that.
Yeah, and I mean, he likes his job, but I don't think he necessarily sees himself staying for that much longer.
Okay, fair enough. Is he in the kind of business that if you move out of state, he'll be able to get another job pretty easily?
I believe so. I mean, you never know what happens with the economy, but
oh yes, of course. But if you look at his, let's just call it 250-ish now that he's making, what would you think if you move out of California in 5 years? What do you think you would want to count on? I mean, I'm not saying the wish list. Like, what do you think? Like, oh, he could make blank. What's that number?
I don't think he'd leave unless he's making the same amount.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm surprised. Okay.
Yes.
Tell me about the house. Housing market in California, pretty
It's
damn good.
insane.
What's your place worth?
I'd say about $1.2 million right now.
And what's the outstanding mortgage?
$470,000.
Let's talk a little bit beyond the pension about your savings. So first tell me about emergency reserve. Like, let's start with non-retirement first.
Okay, so emergency reserve, we have about $75,000 set aside. And we have about $10,000 right now in another savings account, which we tend to use for like vacations.
Okay. We won't count that because that'll be spent
That'll be
eventually.
spent.
Okay.
Yes.
What's next?
We have 529s for our kids. We have about a little over 150,000 in 529s for the kids.
All right, so you're pretty much done.
Yeah, getting close. I mean,
Yeah.
even in-state schools aren't exactly cheap here. So we're hoping to put a little bit more. We put about 2,000 a month aside for them right now, total for both of them. And then my husband does have a 401k with matching and top of the pension. Like I said, great benefits. So they actually match 8% of his total income.
So is he maxing out?
He's maxing out and they're putting in more than we can put in. We do plan when he turns 50 to do the catch up. But yeah, right now they're actually contributing more than we've been able to.
Amazing.
So yeah, we have about 720,000 in his 401k right now. And I have a SEP IRA with about 30,000 in it. And I also, I almost forgot, I have a little tiny Roth with about 14,000 in it.
And so this is it. We've got about 750, 765-ish. You know, at this point, you know, I think you're pretty clearly going to be closing in on $1 million over the course of the next 5 years, right?
That'd be nice, yeah.
That's probably about right. So if you were to move, you must have an idea of where you want to move to. Do you have any idea about that or not?
We are looking at probably either Oregon, Washington, or Colorado are what we're talking about now.
Oregon, hold on, Washington or Colorado. Washington's the place that has no state income tax.
That's correct, yes.
All right. But these markets are so much cheaper than California. They seem like hot markets to me, no?
Yeah. I mean, who knows what they'll be in 5 years.
Yeah.
We'd love to go now, but the kids are really happy where they're at. So we're not going to move them out of school here.
All right. So if you, forgetting about the 529s right now for a second, if you just sort of walk away from that and then you look at your cash needs, what do you think you guys really would like to have in income, both in the 5-year time horizon, but really, I'm really talking about, you know, what's the retirement need? So I'm asking you to sort of project, like, what do you think you need to live on when you're, you know, once you get to be 50, 55 years old?
So that's a hard one to try and figure out. That's one we've struggled with. We do like to travel, but, you know, we wouldn't be paying for the kids as much. So I think if we took out the amount of money that we put aside for the kids now and everything, we'd probably want about 10,000 a month.
I just wrote that down, Mark. I swear to God, I should be videotaping this on my phone. I should be taking a video because I just wrote down 765 retirement with a right arrow to 1 million, and I wrote down 10K a month. So obviously, the path of least resistance is like, oh, I will stay at this company and kill myself till I'm 65 years old, and then I'm done.
Yes.
Completely done. But that's not happening. Yeah, exactly. But that's not happening. We'll get back to our conversation with Kathleen in just a minute. If you want to ask us your question, again, go to the website, jillonmoney.com. You can click on the contact button. While you're there, sign up for the free weekly newsletter. We will be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's get back into it with caller Kathleen. We continue. If we say you sell California, you buy something else, and even if it's the same amount of money, you have the equity, even if it, like, you might say, oh, well, you know, it's $1 million, whatever it is, it ends up, you're not going to get a bigger place. You're not going to spend more money. So you would need $10,000 a month, and he's only going to move and do this if he can make the same 220, right? And so then you do that from age 50 to 60, right?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So then at 50 to 60, you're making the 220. He's not going to have the benefits, the same benefits, but you're putting 26 grand a year away. You're not touching retirement. The kids are done, all those things. We know that your cash flow is going to be improving once you have that extra 25 grand. The money that you're putting into 529s now, what we're going to want you to do, obviously, is redirect that. And you're going to need to have not just retirement money, you're going to need non-retirement money. You're going to need some money that's already been taxed.
Okay.
You're really going to need that because, 50 to 60 is not the issue. It's at 60 when we're going to have to make this jump of what are you going to do for the 5 years between retiring at age 60 and qualifying for Medicare,
Yes.
right?
Yeah, that's the big one.
In that case, we're going to need to have you guys redirect some of your savings out of the tax deferred environment, out of the whole worry about like, oh, I want to shelter. Forget it. You're going to need cash. I want a big chunk of moolah that's set aside by age 60. Okay. At that point, Mark, what do you want to say they're going to have in retirement savings? Let's just presume at age 60, over those 10 years, what do you think that we should guess that they will have? What should our future value be?
Hold on, I'm punching in those numbers into my calculator.
You are?
$1 million?
Yeah, they have $1 million and use it from 50 to 60, but use a conservative amount of growth.
Putting in 26 grand a year?
Well, he's putting in 26 grand from 50 to 60, yeah.
I'm just going to say 6%.
All right. 6 sounds good. You okay with that, Kathleen? 6%.
Yeah.
About 2.1.
Oh, man, I wrote 2 million. I was short by 1. Okay.
I like that number.
You like the 2.1? Okay. Yeah. So now we got 2.1 million. And now he's age 60. And you have $4,000 a month coming in from the pension, from the old pension. We have $2.1 million at least that's socked away, which we hope we don't have to get, but we're going to need to now have another $6,000 a month that's available to get you from 60 to 65. And then Social Security will kick in a couple of years after that. I think it's kind of interesting. Here's the slam dunk. Okay. You ready?
Yeah.
You can totally do this. You cannot spend $1 million on a next home. You have to stash some of that equity away.
Okay.
And I don't even think it will depend where interest rates are because it wouldn't bother me if you had a mortgage because you'll still be earning income. But let's wind the clock ahead 5 years from now. And let's say your 1.2 is 1.5. And now, because it'll grow by something.
That's at least, amazing. But
right. So if it's 1.5 and then, after you sell it and fees and this, that, and the other thing, there's some taxes and there's $1 million. Let's say you cleared $1 million. All right.
Okay.
The way I know the plan works is if we don't spend $1 million and sink that all into a next home. Okay. The way it works is if you take some of that money, you can get a mortgage, we can see where you are, but this plan works a lot better if there is a chunk of money outside of retirement. There's no doubt in my mind.
And where would you put that money? As well as you were saying that the money that we're putting to the 529s, also put that somewhere.
Yeah, I think that I would make it a non-retirement brokerage account. Okay. Where do you keep your SEP IRA right now?
Vanguard. And we do have a small amount in a brokerage, but it's very negligible at this point.
So I would make that let's call it the semi-retirement fund, the nearly retired fund. It's non-qualified, meaning it's taxable, and it would be more conservative than a retirement account because you really are going to need to tap that when you're 60 years old. Not all of it at once, but you're going to need to be a bit more balanced in your approach. And it also may mean that, if you were in a place like Seattle and there's no state income tax, there's not even Seattle, Washington State, there is that wacky long-term care thing that they have, but you'll investigate that at the time. Okay. Because it's a requirement that people who live in Washington State carry long-term care insurance.
Oh, wow.
Now. Yeah.
I did not know that.
I really don't want to be this person who's like, just stay for the money, because I think that there's a real downside for making that decision. I really do.
Yeah, and that's really where I'm at. I'm like, I would like to say just stay. It's a lot of money, but I don't want him to be unhappy,
Right,
So,
right. And you know what's interesting? 5 years is a long time and
yeah,
it's no time, right?
yeah.
And it may be interesting that you guys will be looking in areas and you find something you love, or you may say, you know what? If we are going to give up this pension, here's what we're willing to do. We're willing to live in a much smaller space. I think
Hmm.
people are having interesting conversations about what they're really willing to live with and without as
Yes.
a result of the last 2 years, really. And if you have come to this place and you guys together have come to this place, I mean, I think it's okay to pursue it. I'm interested in it, but I also would, I just want to caution him. What if he finds a great job and it's 180 grand a year? He should do it.
You
He
think
shouldn't mess
so?
around with that. He should not.
Okay.
I think that that's like a little bit like a prideful thing. Oh, I will not take this. I will. But what if he found something really great in a place and you can, sock away a bunch of money because the housing's cheaper, the cost of living is cheaper, and the money's not quite the same on the salary? So what? Who cares?
Okay. I think that's his big worry is that, he'd be walking away from the pension and taking less, and therefore we'd actually be in a much worse situation financially.
If I plopped you down on the earth today, forgetting about what you could have had, and
Mm-hmm.
I say to you, oh my God, all you have to do is work another 5 years and you get a pension of 4 grand a month. Hello, that's amazing. All right, it's amazing. So I just want to caution both of you and him specifically from making the declaration. Don't
Okay.
draw some line in the sand. Well, unless I do this, I'm not doing this. And it doesn't. This is a game plan that's got to be flexible, and you've got to be able to go back and review it and think about it. And I think that it would serve you better to try to go in, and for both of you to go in a little more open minded. That there's so many variables in this kind of a game plan that you can change any of the variables and end up in a great place. Okay, if you, like Kathleen, would like to join us on the air, again, it's very easy. Just go to jillonmoney.com. We'll be right back.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. It's Jill on Money, and we are here answering your questions. If you have something on your mind, maybe it's maybe it's a weirdo tax question, and you're looking at the end of the year and you're like, end of the year means days, no longer weeks or months. Maybe it's a question about how to better position yourself for the new year. Maybe it's just a question that's been on your mind that you've not been willing to ask either yourself or us. Please, all you need to do is go to our website, jillonmoney.com. There, you can just click the contact button and ask your questions, and we'd be happy to answer them. This message comes from Bob from Boston. And Bob says, my wife and I are 64 years old. She retired in 2020, and I plan to retire at the end of 2022. Okay, good. He goes on to say, my income is modest these days after retiring from my corporate job, but it pays the bills. And I was saving in my 403B, HSA, and Roth until my wife retired. Now, between my salary and pension, I still do my HSA to the max, and I put 5% in to get the match in my 403B. That's great. He goes on. Over the past 20 years, I used my cash to fund college educations, paying off the mortgage, contributing to a 401k, and more recently, making Roth contributions. My thinking was by the time we would need cash, I would be over 59 and a half, and I could just withdraw from retirement accounts. I always assumed it was better to save in retirement accounts than to build cash. I took the tax breaks, leaving to the future the payment of the taxes. I'm still doing this in 2021, even though I consider myself cash poor. I'm paying taxes for a $50,000 Roth conversion by increasing the tax taken out of my pension every month. I think we're well positioned for retirement come January 2023. What's your view? Okay, so here's some of the numbers. Not sure about taking Social Security. His full retirement age, 66 and a half, or should it be at 70 or somewhere in between? They need about $120,000 annually, which would include travel expenses. All right, so he's got a pension, 60 grand. His Social Security will be $36,000. Wife will get half of hers. So let's do the math, Mark. It looks to me like they got pretty close to that number, right? They've got 96, and yeah, so it's not quite there, but because he's going to have to pay tax on a bunch of this. He's pretty close. Social Security at age 70 is 47,000. My wife would get 50% of full retirement. So you're right. Your Social Security for your wife, for the non-working spouse, maxes out at your full retirement age. It's your benefit that continues to accrue. So here's the deal. If we deplete some funds to make it to 70 before taking Social Security, the money's gone forever. If we take Social Security at 66 and a half, the income stream will be smaller forever, but the nest egg will have more ability to grow. The philosophy on risk is that he says, I view our investing risk as mostly downside, no real upside. I believe we have enough if we just don't blow it. That's for sure. If the market does well, the kids will get a nice inheritance. If it does poorly, we should still have enough for ourselves. We don't want to take on more risk in hopes of increasing inheritance. So, Mark, they've got $1.3 million in an IRA, $310,000 in two Roths, 60 grand in non-retirement, and then about 160 grand in a 403b. So let's just kind of do this. Let's just say that by the time he retires, let's just use round numbers. He's going to have about $1.5 million in retirement, 300 in a traditional retirement, 300 in Roth, and a little bit in, bank and HSA. What do you think Bob from Boston should do? First of all, Mark, you want to claim at 66 and a half or 70? I would wait also. I think waiting would be better. And in fact, what I would do is I would use that period of time between 66 and a half or 70, and I would pull money out of my IRA, or the 403b, whatever. It'll be a combined account, but I would take a little bit of money out a year, and I would pay the tax on it because I think that would be smart. I really do. So that's what I would do, and I'd wait till 70. Do you think he makes it on the 120? I think he'll make it. I think it'll be fine if he waits till 70. And do you think that he should any different opinion about using the non-retirement assets? Just as he doesn't have that much money in non-retirement assets, right? He's got 60 grand in a non-retirement asset and some money in cash. So I think he's going to have to pull out of his traditional. You okay with that, Mark? Yeah, I'd like to try to have you have a little bit more money in that non-retirement account between now and then. I know that you're taking your tax deduction, but you know what? I'd rather you build that up also. And especially if you have any bonus or anything like that. I think you are in good shape. And we like waiting till 70, especially if you have longevity. If there's some illness or something we don't know about, then obviously you would take it sooner rather than later. But you're on track. So keep going, build up those non-retirement assets. And obviously, if you are happy at work, keep working as long as you can. But if you're not happy, then we're on board with your game plan. So seems to work very well. Okay, it's Jill on Money. If you have a question you'd like to blow by us, JillOnMoney.com is the website. Just click the contact button, and we would be delighted to have your note. Remember, please tell us if you would like to come on the air live with us. Okay, we'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And before we finish up the hour, just want to make sure we squeeze in some more questions from you guys. Remember, if you've got something on your mind, anything remotely financial, all you need to do is to go onto our website, JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. That is what Sue did. And Sue says, I listen to you on CBS radio, and every time the market gets shaky and you come on, you only address the people plodding away for retirement, never the folks watching or listening, like me and my husband, ages 68 and 72. I can't afford to lose much. I do appreciate small gains, but I need security more than big gains. Please mention us and advise. We're most of the folks out there. So, Sue, I think that when you're 68 and 72, you've lived through quite a number of ups and downs, and I understand that. And I know that you might get nervous, but presumably, if you like security more than you like upside gains, then you are positioned appropriately. And I said that very specifically and slowly because if that is who you are and that's the kind of investor you are, and the market collapses every now and again, then you probably have a portfolio that's not wildly risky, in which case, you don't need so much hand holding because you actually are going to be able to ride it out. Now, if conversely, you're taking too much risk in your portfolio, even if you say we're older and we need this, then that's on you. You have to adjust that asset allocation. And I would be more than happy to talk to you further about this. But yeah, you're right. I try to talk to everybody, but mostly it is incumbent on all of us, if we have a very low tolerance for risk, not to put ourselves out there. Okay, you're listening to Jill on Money. And when we return, we've got a whole nother hour. So maybe what you should do during the break is go to jillonmoney.com and bookmark that website, because every time you have some sort of financial question, or if you see me on TV or you hear me on the radio, all you would need to do is go to your computer, click on Jill on Money, and then just hit the contact button and we'll get your message. Okay. Stand by. We will be right back with more of your great questions.
It's the weekend, and that can only mean one thing. You're listening to Jill on Money, the show that takes the mystery out of your finances. Here's your host, Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's hour number 2 of Jill on Money, and we are trying to help people make really good, smart, informed financial decisions. And we don't do it alone. We do it with your help. All you have to do is ask us those questions. Go to jillonmoney.com and click the contact button. But often we're talking to you and you hear this in a lot of our conversations, and we say you might need more help than what we can provide. If you find yourself in that category, check out our sponsor, Facet Wealth. Facet provides flat fee, conflict-free planning, and you get that planning advice from a certified financial planner, a dedicated one, not just a random person in a call center. This person has to be a fiduciary or act in your best interest. So if you want goal-based financial planning, not just investment planning, but financial planning, the stuff that really matters in your life, what I suggest you do is check out Facet Wealth at facetwealth.com. There are no wealth or account minimums, so that's my kind of model, if you ask me. All right, so now we are going back to your questions. We are going to talk to Christian in Virginia. Let's figure out what is going on in your financial life. So tell us about you and how we can help you out.
So I am 29. My wife is 26. We have a joint income of about $120,000. We have about $100,000 in our retirement account. So.
Whoa. Hold on. First of all, Mark's like, I can't believe this guy's married. He's so young. So how long have you been married?
We've been married 2 years as of 2 days ago, actually. Just had the 2-year anniversary.
Really? So you made it through COVID as newlyweds.
Yes. I think I joke that it was like 7 years of marriage because we were with each other all day, every day.
That's a lot. And how do you have so much money saved in retirement already?
Well, so I opened up a Roth IRA probably in 2012 with some money that I had from a summer internship. And so I just always started plunking some money in there. And right now I work for a very nice employer that I put in 4% and they essentially give 12%. So
What? Wait a minute. Your contribution is 4% and they put in an additional 12%?
yeah, so like they'll match 4% and then they give everyone, regardless of whether you contribute 8% once a year. It's a really, really good setup.
Wow, that's great. Is this like a nonprofit or is it a for-profit endeavor?
So it is a nonprofit. We are the fundraising arm for a college.
Okay. What about your wife? What's her contribution level?
So she is a teacher. So she's in whatever the Virginia state system is. And so I think she has about 20,000 in that. And it's broken up into a few different accounts. I don't totally understand it. Part is what we put in. The other is what they put in. And then there's this third account, which I think is like the hybrid pension thing. I don't really get it. It just has a dollar amount. So I just kind of factor that in and say that's great.
All right, let's go through the question and you tell me what's going on and how we can help you out.
My first question comes from Roth IRA accounts. So I emailed you guys probably 6 months ago and asked about what we should do with our situation. And you suggested that we both max out our Roth IRAs. So we started doing that and we're very happy about that. So I just kind of opened it up in a brokerage account with the guy who has my Roth IRA accounts. And so we started putting it in some American funds. But when I started taking a look at the costs and the fees, and I know Vanguard keeps coming up in conversation, I looked at the expenses for some Vanguard index funds, and they are so much cheaper than these American funds, especially when you count in the sales fee up front. So my question is, I already have about $34,000 in my Roth IRA with American funds. My wife has $3,000 or so with American funds right now. But does it make sense for us to just open up a Vanguard account for each of us and sign up for the robo-advisor and just have them kind of throw us in index funds? Like, is it going to end up being better for us in the long run? Because the fees just freak me out. I just feel like someone's trying to, grab our money before we can get it. And I just want to make sure that if we're going to just drop it in there for another 20, 30, 40 years, we're doing the smart thing.
Of all of the loaded mutual funds out there, American funds actually are managed pretty well. Once you pay that fat fee, you usually are in decent assets. However, the reason that you would buy them or keep them is that whoever sold them to you is giving you advice. Is there a person associated with this account?
So there is someone that I can call and they, review what I'm doing. And
how did you get to this person?
They had the phone number listed on the account online. It's been set up for so long. I think where I originally opened it up, sold it to someone else who, it's really all happenstance how I got connected with this guy.
Okay. Mark, are you okay with me, even though that American funds are good funds? Are you feeling okay if I say blow out of these funds? Are we okay with that, Mark?
I was there about probably 90 seconds ago.
Okay. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to take this Roth IRA and you are going to basically open up a new account at Vanguard. You're going to open a Roth IRA and you will directly transfer in all the money. It will come in as cash. They're not going to transfer these funds in as is. I should say this. I doubt they will. I'm pretty sure they won't. So what? The money comes in cash. Do you need a robo-advisor? I don't know. You could probably just use index funds, but you could use the Vanguard robo aspect of this, right? Which is called Vanguard Digital Advisor. Or you can just pick 3 or 4 funds and pick index funds. And, right now I'm looking at your account. So everyone, he sent this to me. So you can pick an S&P 500 fund. You can do an international index. You can do a small company index. And you could even throw a little bond, an intermediate term bond fund. Boom, you're done. Those 4 funds. You should go through it. And if you want to try to use the digital advisor, that's fine. I don't even know if you need it. So number 1, yes, move the money, all the money that goes in there. And for your account, for your wife's account, like you're a Vanguard family starting whenever this transfer happens. Again, you can do it yourself, or you can choose to use the robo-advisor that Vanguard provides.
What's a good resource for figuring out the allocation on how much should be in the S&P versus how much should be in the bonds? What's the rule of thumb that you would suggest?
There isn't really a rule of thumb, but you're young. You're not going to use this money for decades. So chances are you have a pretty high risk tolerance. I think at Vanguard itself, they'll have a risk assessment that will help you. They have tools there. Certainly, if you use the digital advisor, that will take you through a risk assessment tool. And maybe you just use that and see how it goes. And that's about all you need. We'll get back to our conversation with Christian in just a minute. Head on over to JillOnMoney.com to ask your financial question. We'll be right back.
Do I invest here? Should I put my money there? Jill Schlesinger can help you. Back to Jill on Money.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Let's get back to that question with Christian. So, like, if I were just going to, off the top of my head, give you an allocation right this second, I might say 20% in the bond fund, 10% in the small cap, 10 in international index. Ladies and gentlemen, that's 40%. Leaves us 60% in your U.S. stock market extended market index. That's it. 60, 10, 10, 20. Yeah.
Or 60, 15, 15, 10.
Okay. So
because he is so young.
Okay. So Mark is, now you're going to see Mark, even though I'm a wimp, Mark is correcting my wimpiness, and I appreciate that. So yes, you're right. 60, 15, 15, 10 versus 60, 10, 10, 20. So, I mean, I don't know. How do you feel about ups and downs in the market? Do you freak out or not?
No, because I know I'm not going to need it for so long. So I'm kind of feeling maybe closer to 10% for bonds would probably be more aligned.
Good. Okay. So we got it. We got your allocation. You're done. It's fantastic. Next question. You said there were two questions.
Yes. So my second question comes from my employer's 403B plan. That's through Principal. So when I first started, I just signed up for whatever the target date fund. And there is a group that comes in quarterly or every half a year that meets with employees when they want. They did a whole plan for my wife and I, and basically said we were going to be able to retire. And then they tried to sell us life insurance, and we bought some term life. Anyway, so I asked them at that point, what should I do to get out of this target date fund? Can you help me allocate in a few different funds? And they put me in 9 different funds.
Good Lord. How much money's in there?
About $40,000.
Oh, for God's sakes. That just makes me insane. Do we have some index funds within the plan?
So there are a large cap S&P 500, a mid cap S&P, and a small cap with lower expenses. I mean, they're not nothing. It's not as great as Vanguard, but they are lower than whatever I'm in right now. I will say that I met with them probably a week ago and said I'd like to move into more index funds, and they moved me from 9 to 8, and they have other ones in.
Oh my God. Okay. Use the large cap index, use the small cap index. The one fund that's actually pretty decent is the American Funds Euro-Pacific Fund is actually a good international fund. So if you want to keep one of these, since there's no international index, I'd keep that one. And is there a bond index?
Yeah, so we've got American Funds, Bond Fund of America.
Oh, Bond Fund of America is good. Is there an index, though?
No, so there's no.
Okay, so do 10% in the Bond Fund of America. That's fine. I mean, it's more expensive than you need to be having, but it actually is a decent fund, and there are good managers there. And then that's it. So we're going to use the Bond Fund of America for 10%. Just replicate the same thing. 60, 15, 15, 10.
Does this account have a Roth option, Christian?
I don't think so, no.
Maybe this very, very generous nonprofit fundraising arm for the college, maybe you could say, is it possible, since we have I bet you have a young staff there, we sure would be grateful if you guys could offer it as a Roth option. It's very easy for them to do that.
And then I would be able to contribute, the 19.5 instead of the 6?
No, both. If your workplace plan allows a Roth option, you could contribute $19,500 in that, and then you can still use a regular Roth IRA and contribute $6,000.
Oh, wow.
Do you guys have a nice emergency reserve fund, considering you have all this retirement money saved?
We have right around $20,000, which is probably 4 to 6 months of our expenses.
Well, she's probably not going to get fired as a teacher unless, she does something really nutty. And it sounds like they like you. But I'd rather you guys have six or 8. What about just a few other details here? Do you have non-retirement savings that are like earmarked? Are you looking at buying a house? Do you own a house already? Where are you guys in the process?
So we own a house. We bought it in April of 2019. So we've been very happy with how it, with how the last year or so has had it appreciate. We actually refinanced so we could get rid of PMI.
Oh, great. So what's the house worth now?
The house is probably worth between 300, maybe 315 on a good day. And our loan balance is probably about 225, and the interest rate is 2.875%.
Fantastic. No extra payments on that, so that's great. What kind of life insurance did you buy from these people? Did you buy term, you said?
Yeah, so we bought term for each other. It was $300,000 on each of us.
Okay.
We figured just in case something happened, we'd be able to take care of the house, and that's really all we needed. I mean, they recommended we do something like $1 million, and it just didn't seem right.
Do you think you guys are going to be starting a family anytime soon, or no?
I think in the next few years, probably 2, 3, 4 years.
Okay. I mean, look, if you're thinking about that, then, and one of you is going to be staying home primarily for some time, and, there's going to be a little dip or anything like that, in income, obviously you're going to save some extra money before that happens. We'll build up the emergency reserve fund, and then you'll need to beef up your term life insurance, but you don't need to go through whoever sold you that policy. Of course, you can just go online to Haven Life or Policy Genius. You can just do it very easily. So I think it sounds like you're in good shape. Did you create some simple wills for yourselves?
Bought the program, made the will, have not printed them out.
Mark has a printer. He can do it for you right now. He can do that. Just focus on the documents. And is there anything else that we can help you with today?
Okay, so there's a little bit of anxiety about making sure that we're going to be okay when we retire. I mean, if you look at everything that we're saving right now, we're saving probably about 22% of our income for retirement. And so I guess, I don't know if this is more financial planning or therapy, how much do we need to worry about all of this if we kind of stay where we are right now?
Mark, how much do you want them to worry about where they are?
As long as you guys can get to the point where you're maxing out your retirement plans, and if you're able to contribute to a Roth IRA, I wouldn't worry. If you keep doing that, you will be fine when the time comes.
Yeah, I mean, you stayed out of trouble. You're not in the only debt you have is your mortgage, right?
Yes, my wife has a little bit in student loans, but hopefully most of that will be forgiven the end of next year.
I think you're in great shape. Are you natural worriers? Is that something that is like sort of part of your DNA?
Yes, that is very much a part of my DNA.
Oh, well, then have children sooner rather than later. You can worry about them and stop worrying about money. A
kid will only add to the money worries. Don't worry.
What can we replace his worry with? Are you worried about, sort of the state of the universe? Is there something else we can you're really in good shape. So I want you to divert your worry onto something else.
Christian, how is your cash flow? Like, you're only contributing 4%. Can you contribute more? Okay,
so I guess I could. If I'm looking at kind of the back of the envelope calculations, we'll probably have, after expenses, all that jazz, probably an extra $1,000 a month. And once my wife's student loans are forgiven, that will probably tick up closer to $2,000 a month. And so part of it was, okay, want to save money for getting a car in a couple years, and maybe we want to save up for some home projects. But like, should we make a real point of putting a lot of that into additional retirement?
I think if you've got the extra money, what I would do is first beef up the emergency reserve fund and go from 4 to 6 months to more like, 9 to 12 months. That's number one. Then number two, whatever money you need in the next year, whether it's for some home improvements or whatever, you should also put that into that fund. And once you've got that set, then absolutely, I agree with Mark, start ticking up your contribution level until you're actually maxed out. And I think that will be a real help for you in many ways. So I think that's my recommendation. If you would like to ask us your financial question, just head on over to jillonmoney.com, click on the contact button. We'll be right back.
.401ks, IRAs, refinancing, she covers it all. Back to Jill on Money with Jill Schlesinger.
You're back. It's Jill on Money. Got a financial question? We're here to help you out. You could be like Dale, who's on the line right now, who needs some help prioritizing goals. Hi, Dale. How can we help you out?
Well, Jill, my wife and I had talked about what we're going to do as far as paying down debt, and we have kind of a, I'll say, special situation. So we just wanted to run it by you and see if you agree or get your opinion on it.
Okay, let's go. First of all, how old are you?
I am 39.
And your wife?
37.
Okay, you're both employed?
We are.
How much do you guys make together?
About $250.
That must go a long way in the Midwest.
Definitely helps. I mean, it feels tight right now, but I think we make it tight on purpose. It's what I've heard people call forced scarcity.
Yeah, I don't like scarcity in general, and I don't like forcing that issue. But let's hear more about this. You got some kids?
We got two girls, 4 and 2.
4 and 2. Wow.
Yep.
Okay, you got your hands full. You got this good income. You got a couple kids. Do you own a home?
We do.
How much is that worth?
I'm going to say between probably $280 and $300.
An outstanding mortgage balance of how much?
I believe it's around $125 at the moment. I couldn't tell you the exact dollar amount, but it's right there somewhere.
Do you know the interest rate on the mortgage?
It's 4.25%.
So you didn't do the whole refi thing when we saw the dip in mortgage, right?
Not yet.
Okay. And what about other debt? Because we're talking about debt pay down. What's outstanding elsewhere?
The only other debt we have is student loans, and it's a whopper, about $250,000.
Ho. Wait a second. Mark just had a seizure. So it's $250,000. Is that yours, hers, or a combination?
It's hers.
How did she get that much money? Is she what does she do? What to justify that?
She is a veterinarian.
That seems like a good job.
It is.
How
and
much?
She enjoys it.
What's the interest rate on that student loan?
I don't know exactly. I know it's over 7%.
Whoa.
It's all federal.
Oh, okay. Because it's mostly graduates, it's not the undergraduates. That's the weird thing, right? Yeah, I was just looking this up, even just for this year. I just did this for the heck of it. The interest rate for federal direct graduate loans is just about 6.3% right now for this coming year. So it's a lot more expensive to go to graduate school. All right, but we're here. So let's figure it out. Where are we going from here? Do you guys both have retirement plans?
I have a retirement plan. She does not. She works for a small practice, so it's essentially just straight salary. There's no benefits of any kind, no health insurance, no disability insurance. It's all just basically straight salary.
Okay. And you're maxing out your retirement plan?
Yes, I am.
Given that you've got the house, you're maxing out your retirement plan, you're paying down these loans. Like, how's your cash flow when you talk about forced scarcity? Tell me a little bit more about what's forcing that.
Well, that we save. I think we save a lot. Meaning, I'm maxing out my 401k, also maxing out an HSA. So with that, that's $7,200 a year. With what we've done to save for those student loans, we're putting about $600 a month into a taxable brokerage account.
How much is in there?
Right at 40.
And you manage that yourselves?
Yeah, it's all in Vanguard index funds. The other big expense we have at the moment that'll hopefully clear up in a few years is, our kids are both young enough that they're in daycare, so that's pretty expensive.
The $600 a month, when you first got in touch with us, your question was, should we be prioritizing our mortgage over student loans? So
Correct.
I want to talk a little bit about that for a second. Have you tried to refinance this loan or not?
I haven't, mainly from the standpoint of, I looked at the interest rates, and about the best one I could find was about 3.25%, which is still good. I'm not disputing that. But when I ran the numbers, if we, we're getting a little bit further into it, but if we paid it off at the rate that I was thinking we would, or that we could, once you factor in the closing costs, it's kind of a wash.
Is this the house you'll be in for some time, do you think?
I believe so, yes.
Okay. How much time remains on that mortgage at this point?
If we were to just pay it off as it goes, I'm going to say, we've been in the house for 8 years, so 22 years.
So explain to me your thinking about comparing paying down a 4.25% debt with the student loans, which you say are 7%. Why would we even think about that?
Well, my wife's income has increased substantially since she graduated. When she first came out, she didn't make a lot, but now she makes a good bit. So when we were first paying it off, she was on IBR, or she still is, income-based repayment. So it's based on, her income essentially. So the payment fluctuates. So we started looking at it, and I ran the numbers, and we actually even hired a financial advisor to look at it, someone who specializes in student loans to run the numbers, and came to the conclusion that, the best way to pay it off is to actually go for the forgiveness with the IBR, looking at how much it would cost us to actually pay it off versus writing out, another, I'll say 15 years on IBR. Even with the, I know what gets forgiven, at least as of right now, is considered taxable income. Even with that, it's still almost $100,000 cheaper to go the IBR route than it is to pay it off. So I kind of look at it from the standpoint of, okay, we've got 2 mortgages outstanding.
Yes.
Get rid of one of them.
How much does your wife make? Like you said, you make $250 together. So what's the split between the two of you? She
makes the majority of it. She makes about $140.
I see the issue. See, of course, I read the email and I was like, oh my God, you got to pay off the student loans. You got to do that fast.
Right.
Okay, so what are the risks? Let's think about that. The risk is they change the program. Things, they don't let you do it. But I feel like you're grandfathered in or grandmothered in for her sake. And so you keep paying this off for 15 years. And then 15 years from now, you will essentially be left with about how much outstanding at that point?
I can't remember. He ran through all those calculations, and I did as well. I just remember it was going to be a tax bill of around, or what I'm planning for is $90,000.
Meaning of a tax bill, or what that would be forgiven?
That would be the tax bill. What would be forgiven would be much higher.
Okay, got it. Okay, during the break, we're going to get back to Dale in just a second, but head on over to JillOnMoney.com and bookmark it.
Follow Jill on Twitter and Instagram for more personal finance content. Just use the handle @JillOnMoney. Now, back to the show.
You are back. It is Jill on Money, and we are broadcasting from the Capital One Bank virtual studios. Capital One. This is Banking Reimagined. What's in your wallet? There's a good question for you. This is the program that attempts to take the mystery out of your financial life. We do that by answering your questions. So if you have a question, please feel free to hop on the website, jillonmoney.com, hit the contact button, and we will be there for you. It's really easy to do. Let's continue our conversation with Dale. You guys are filing singly, right? Because
Correct.
That's the whole IBR thing. Okay. So just if you're listening, guys, if you have an income-based plan, sometimes it's better to be filing as single versus jointly because of the way the calculations are done. And it's also kind of cleaner. I'm shifting as I speak to you. Mark, what are you thinking? Are you shocked at this right now? Because we're sort of in a strange place that we normally would say pay off the student loans. Are you okay keeping the income-based plan and this outstanding balance floating around in their lives, Mark?
I would 100% do that, knowing that they are eligible for the forgiveness program. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, it's just sort of weird it's hanging out there. Now, that's a separate issue from should you accelerate your mortgage pay down? Because I want to talk a little bit about these kiddos. They're in daycare now. I'm sure they're brilliant. They play blocks and Legos incredibly well.
Sure.
Are you trying to maybe save for college or other kind of private school or anything like that?
Yeah, I've got a 529 plan set up for both of them that I put $200 a month into each of them every month, so $400 total.
I would not pay off the mortgage so quickly. I like the idea that you've got money in the brokerage account. I would probably, you've got an emergency reserve fund, right? You've got just like a slush fund of money.
Yeah, we've got approximately $60,000 in cash.
Okay. So I think what I would do is I would increase the 529 plan.
What we were thinking for the $600 was I was using that brokerage account to save for the eventual tax bill that'll be due.
Yeah. I mean, it's so hard to plan that in the future. You're going to have a lot of opportunity to save for that.
Yeah.
And it's funny because that tax bill could or could not come due at the moment where, one of your kids is going to college. That kind of screws you up for any possible chance at financial aid, right? Because it's going to come at the wrong time. Just, whatever, weird timing. But I have a feeling, I don't know, is it possible that your wife is going to keep making more money because she's making a good chunk of money now? I think I just want to put a little bit more money in the 529 plan. Maybe instead of $400 a month, maybe I do $600 a month in there, the rest in the brokerage account. I wouldn't pay down the mortgage. I would look at, potentially doing the refi. And if you really just want to get it paid off quickly, at least look at it and say, maybe you don't have to do 3.25 for 30 years. Maybe you see if you can just, shave off some to 20 years.
The thing that slows me down from it, and my wife and I have talked about this, I know that mathematically the smart thing to do is to refi it and then save the difference,
right,
and invest that.
Yeah.
The problem with that is, and we both agree that we don't think we have the discipline to do that.
What do you mean? You guys are so awesome.
Well,
you are so awesome. I've not heard a lack of discipline in any of our conversation yet.
Well, we both want to really do some upgrades to our home. So our thought was get rid of this mortgage. And if we get rid of the mortgage, my guess is we could pay it off in about 3.5 years. And then we can just cash flow any renovations or anything we want to do to our property.
Am I going to convince him or not? What do we think? It doesn't sound like it.
I'm leaning no.
I'm leaning no.
I think the mortgage rate compared to what's out there right now is high.
It is high. See, I'm thinking that that you can just do the refi, and you could potentially do the refi and do the work right now and not look back and chill. Will you consider it? Just humor me and just go look again. Okay?
Yeah, I definitely consider it. I'll be honest, that makes me a little bit nervous, but that I know mathematically it makes more sense to save the difference and invest it.
If you're going to pay off the house and then you're going to just end up spending the money that you would have spent, you might as well just deal with this whole thing, do the work on the house. I don't know. I think that you should have more confidence in yourselves, but you guys know yourselves better than I do. So if it freaks you out, don't do it. But you're in good shape. I would save a little bit more in the 529 plans. I think really the forgiveness in 15 years is a real interesting technique to use, and you're already being disciplined about that. Obviously, we don't know where tax rates are going, so let's hope for the best when that happens. I think that you guys, even if your wife's income were to kind of start floating up a little bit, maybe we would, you'd take a hit for 1 year and you'd move on. And so hopefully that'll be exactly what it is. Do you guys have life insurance?
We do, and I'm looking to actually get more.
Okay. Just get term, no fancy pants,
Yeah,
weirdo stuff.
no whole life or universal life.
Right on. Do you have wills and powers of attorney?
We do not. That's our other to-do list for this summer.
Don't you have a friend who's a lawyer and just ask for come on, just give us the name of a lawyer who can get this done quickly and efficiently, and you spend a few bucks, but you get it done, and you'll be relieved once you get it done. You're worried about refinancing. I'm worried about you dying.
Well, I worry about that.
Oh, gosh. Listen, I think you guys are in good shape. Okay, we'll get right back to conclude our special holiday show. But if you have a moment, why don't you go to the website, JillOnMoney.com, and there you can sign up for our free weekly newsletter and subscribe to our podcast, Jill on Money, or to our sister podcast, Eye on Money. It's all there for you. Just go to JillOnMoney.com. We'll be right back. You're back. It's Jill on Money. And as we approach the end of the program, I always like to squeeze in one more question. And this is a question that comes from Barbara. Barbara writes that her financial advisor would like to change all of her portfolio into a discretionary account. So just so you know, a discretionary account means that you've got an account where usually the advisor would be making all of the investment decisions, but consistent with an agreed upon allocation that you would be presented with, and then that they would probably charge you a percentage of the assets that they manage. Whereas the non-discretionary portfolios are usually, they have to call you every time there's an idea about an investment idea, and then they have to actually get your permission to make a trade. And Barbara wants to know, is this a common practice? And she goes on to say, by the way, all of my wealth, so to speak, is in this portfolio, including a $100,000 annuity. She says she's 60 years old. Barbara, I do not know what exactly the reasoning is behind this, but I have a little bit of a warning signal going off. It sounds to me like, number one, I'm not sure you have a fiduciary financial advisor. I don't think that you necessarily, we don't know this for sure, but if there's an annuity in this account and this person now wants to start saying, I want a discretionary account for you, I don't know. I got some warning flags that are going up for me. And I think that they're going up for you as well. So I invite you to follow up with us, and maybe we can help see what's in that portfolio and what your options might be for a better arrangement. So follow up with us. And Mark, I'd love to get her on the air because this sounds interesting to me. All right, that is it. That's the program. Just know that we are here for you. All you need to do is go to JillOnMoney.com, click the contact button. While you're on the website, why don't you subscribe to our two fabulous podcasts? One is called Jill on Money. The other is called Eye on Money. And you can do it right from the website. Our music is composed by Joel Goodman. Mark Talercio is our executive producer. Try to do something nice for someone else today. Thanks for listening. We'll talk to you next week.